For I am not ashamed of the gospel. And I just want to stop there. And if you're like, oh, you're going longer than 20, trust me, this is quick. If anyone should be embarrassed, maybe, if anyone had right to be a little ashamed of the gospel, it might have been the Apostle Paul. The gospel did not bring him comfort, and it certainly did not bring him a life of ease. There was no life of comfort, no life of ease for the Apostle Paul. Like, he had been imprisoned in Philippi, he had been chased out of Thessalonica, he had been smuggled out of another city, he had been beaten, thrown in prison. He's ultimately murdered at every point. He's slandered and pestered and pursued and torn down and robbed, and once took such a beating that they thought he was dead and left him, and he got back, like he woke back up from being knocked out and went back into town to preach the gospel. And so this man, who has been thrown in prison, who has been mocked, belittled, slandered, attacked, physically harmed, is saying, I'm not ashamed of it. I've got more to say. You ain't going to be able to beat this thing out of me. You're not going to be able to imprison this thing out of me. In fact, I've often said that if you hated the gospel, guys like Paul would drive you mad, because there's literally nothing you could do to make them stop. And even when you thought you were there, it would lead to some of your side becoming converts. So like, what are you going to do to him? Leave him alone? Well, to live is Christ. You're going to kill him, to die is gain. You're going to torture him? Well, he doesn't count the present sufferings as worthy to compare to future glory. You're just going to lock him up, throw away the key? Well, gosh, an earthquake might come and your whole guard might become Christians and plant a church in your city. Like, what are you going to do to this man? He's not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, even when it brought no comfortable life or life of ease. And so he just declares it right out of the gate. I'm not ashamed. And then he goes on to tell us how this is possible, because it is the power of God unto salvation. So this is important, right? That the gospel's not good advice. The gospel's not chicken noodle soup for the soul. The gospel's not an appeal to clean yourself up or to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's not what the gospel is. The gospel is the power of God. That's what it is, period. He's like, I'm not ashamed of the gospel, because the gospel is the power of God unto salvation. It's not good advice for the weary soul. It's the power of God that overcomes and overpowers all that would rob God's people and the people that will be God's people from the fullness of life that he has died to purchase for them. This is the gospel, the power of God